ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 44 on Talks with Ramana Maharshi. This video starts with talk number 571. Multiplicity of individuals is a moot point with most persons. A jiva is only the light reflected on the ego. The person identifies himself with the ego and argues that there must be more like him. He is not easily convinced of the absurdity of his position. Does a man who sees many individuals in his dream persist in believing them to be real and inquire after them when he wakes up? This argument does not convince the disputant. Again, there is the moon. Let anyone look at her from any place at any time. She is the same moon. Everyone knows it. Now suppose that there are several receptacles of water reflecting the moon. The images are all different from one another and from the moon herself. If one of the receptacles falls to pieces, that reflection disappears. Its disappearance does not affect the real moon or the other reflections. It is similar with an individual attaining liberation. He alone is liberated. The sectarian of multiplicity makes this his argument against non-duality. If the self is single, if one man is liberated, that means that all souls are liberated. In practice, it is not so. Therefore, Advaita is not correct. The weakness in the argument is that the reflected light of the self is mistaken for the original light of the self. The ego, the world, and the individuals are all due to the person's vasanas. When they perish, that person's hallucinations disappear. That is to say, one picture is broken and the relative reflection is at an end. The fact is that the self is never bound. There can therefore be no release for it. All the troubles are for the ego only. 10th November 1938, a question was asked why it was wrong to say that there is a multiplicity of jivas. Jivas are certainly many, for a jiva is only the ego and forms the reflected light of the self. Multiplicity of selves may be wrong, but not of jivas. Maharshi replies, Jiva is called so because he sees the world. A dreamer sees many jivas in a dream, but all of them are not real. The dreamer alone exists and he sees all. So it is with the individual and the world. There is creed of only one self, which is also called the creed of only one jiva. It says that the jiva is only one who sees the whole world and the jiva therein. Devotee. Then jiva means the self here. Maharshi, so it is, but the self is not a seer. But here he is said to see the world, so he is differentiated as the jiva. Talk number 572. Devotee puts a question of what use is the fear of death which is common to all. Maharshi, true, it is common to all. Such fear serves no useful purpose because being overpowered by the latent tendencies of the mind, the man dies a natural death. It does not lead him to non-attachment and he cannot investigate the matter. Devotee, how then are you giving the same instruction without distinction to visitors? Maharshi, what do I say? The ego in each one must die. Let him reflect on it. Is there this ego or is there not? By repeated reflection, one becomes more and more fit. 11th November 1938, talk number 573. Mr. Ranganatha Iyer, a devotee of 14 years standing, is on a visit here. He asked, how long is the interval between one's death and reincarnation? Maharshi, it may be long or short, but a jnani does not have any such changes. He merges into the universal being, so says the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Some say that those who after death pass into the path of light are not reborn, whereas those who after death take the path of darkness are reborn after they have enjoyed the fruits of karma in their subtle bodies. If one's merits and demerits are equal, they are directly reborn here. Merits outweighing demerits, the subtle bodies go to heavens and are then reborn here. Demerits outweighing merits, they go to hells and are afterwards reborn here. A yoga brashta is said to fare in the same manner. All these are described in the Shastras, but in fact there is neither birth nor death. One remains only as what one really is. This is the only truth. Talk number 574. Devotee, what are asanas, postures or seats? Are they necessary? Maharshi, many asanas with their effects are mentioned in the Yoga Shastras. The seats are the tiger skin, grass, etc. The postures are the lotus posture, the easy posture, and so on. Why all these only to know oneself? I am the body. The body requires a seat. It is the earth. Thinking thus, he seeks seats. But in sleep, did he think of the sport or the bed? The bed on the cot and the cot on the earth. Did he not exist in sleep too? How was he then? The truth is, being the self, the ego rising up, confusing himself with the body, mistaking the world to be real, differentiating the objects, covered by the ignorance of the I conceit, he thinks wildly and also looks for seats. He does not understand that he himself is the center of all and thus forms the basis for all. If questioned, he talks of the effects of seats and footwear in terms of gravitation, magnetism, and so on. Without them, he imagines that the power of his austerities will dwindle away. Wherefrom do they all derive their power? He looks to the effects, seeks their causes, and imagines them to be the power of seeds and of footwear. A stone thrown up falls back to the ground. Why? Owing to the gravitation, says he. Well, are all these different from his thoughts? Think and say if the stone, the earth, and gravity are different from his thoughts. They are all in his mind only. He is the power and the wielder of it. He is the center of all and their sport. He is also the seat. The seat is meant to make him sit firm. Where and how can he remain firm except in his own real state? This is the seat. Talk number 575. Devotee, how to conquer desire, anger, etc. Maharshi replies, despite or lust, anger, desire or lust, anger, etc. give you pain. Why? Because of the I conceit. This I conceit is from ignorance. Ignorance from differentiation. Differentiation from the notion of the reality of the world. And this again from I am the body idea. The last can be only after the rise of the ego. The ego not arising, the whole chain of mishaps disappears. Therefore, prevent the rise of the ego. This can be done by remaining in your own real nature. Then lust, anger, etc. are conquered. Devotee. So then all these have their root in ignorance. Maharshi, quite so. Ignorance gives rise to error, error to conceit, etc. What is ignorance? Can it be of pure Brahma, which is only the self, or pure knowledge? Only let the questioner know his own self, that is, be the knowledge. This question will not arise because of ignorance. He raises the question. Such ignorance is of the questioner and not of the self. The sun seems, no darkness persists. There is hoarded wealth in an iron safe. The man says it is his own. The safe does not say so. It is the ownership conceit that is responsible for the claim. Nothing is independent of the self, not even ignorance, for ignorance is only the power of the self, remaining there without affecting it. However, it affects the I conceit, that is the jiva. Therefore, ignorance is of the jiva. How? The man says, I do not know myself. Are there then two selves, one the subject and other the object? He cannot admit it. Is then ignorance at an end for him? No. The rise of the ego is itself the ignorance and nothing more. Talk number 576. Sutra Bhashya. The sutras are meant to elucidate and establish the meaning of the text. The commentaries try to do so by bringing in the opponent's views, refuting them, and arriving at conclusions after long discussions. There are also differences of opinion in the same school of thought. Again, protagonists and antagonists, also different schools of thought, interpret the same text in different ways and arrive at different conclusions contrary to each other. How then is the purpose of the sutras served? 15th November 1938, talk number 576. Pure being leads to supreme being. This shines forth. This comes to pure mind, sattva mind, Ishvara. Then it becomes Rajas, the ego, Aham, Tamas, the world, Idam. All these are Vedantic terminology. Talk number 578. Coming here, some people do not ask about themselves. They ask, does the sage liberated while alive, Jivan Mukta, see the world? Is he affected by karma? What is liberation after being disembodied? Is one liberated only after being disembodied or even while alive in the body? Should the body of the sage resolve itself in light or disappear from view in any other manner? Can he be liberated through the body, though the body is left behind as a corpse? Their questions are endless. Why worry oneself in so many ways? Does liberation consist in knowing these? Therefore I say to them, leave liberation alone. Is there bondage? Know this. See yourself first and foremost. Talk number 579. Avarna, veiling, does not hide the jiva in entirety. He knows that he is, only he does not know who he is. He sees the world, but not that it is only Brahma. It is light in darkness or knowledge in ignorance. In a cinema show, the room is first darkened, artificial light is introduced. Only in this light are the pictures projected. For differentiation, a reflected light is thus necessary. A sleeper dreams he is not out of sleep. Only in the darkness or ignorance of sleep can he see the unreal dream objects. Similarly, the darkness of ignorance gives rise to the knowledge of the perceptions of the world. Agyan, ignorance and direction leads to avarna and veiling. This veiling is a characteristic of ignorance. It is not of the self. It cannot affect the self in any manner. It can veil only the jiva. The ego is insentient, united with the light from the self. It is called jiva. But the ego and the light cannot be seen distinct from each other. They are always united together. The mixed product is the jiva and the root of all differentiation. All these are spoken of to satisfy the questioners. Here we have to understand the basic difference between jiva, atma, ego. See, the basic thing is atma. That is the reality. Atma is the reality. Then from atma, ego arises. This ego gives rise to mind, buddhi, and this ego allies with prana, and this is all known as jiva. So the basic entity is atma, and ego, mind, jiva, they are all getting their power from the atma, and they are part and parcel of atma only. So we have to understand. And atma is also Brahma. As Brahma is infinite, equally our Atma is infinite. When the same Atma resides in the spiritual heart of human beings, here this Atma is known as Jeev Atma. This Jivatma is said to be confined in a human body. Otherwise, Atma is infinite like Brahma. Brahma and Atma, they are the same, they are sentient, they are infinite, they are omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. No birth, no death, no change, remaining the same in every eventuality. So we have to understand these terms very, very clearly. Sahasrara, cranium, ether, that is jnana, kantham, throat, air, mind, hridaya, heart, light, intellect. Such is the representation of the subtle body. Nabhi, navel, water, memory. Such is the representation of the subtle body. The senses and the other organs act separately, whereas the inner organs and the vital airs can work only in unison. Therefore, the former are Vyashti, individualistic, and the latter are Samashti, collective. Mula, solar plexus, earth, the ego. So, these are also called chakras in Kundalini terminology, Kundalini Shakti. To Avarna, veiling give rise to two kinds of veiling. Avarna, within veils Drik the seer and Drishya the seen. Outside veils the Lord's creation. And this Drik and Drishya that leads to I am the body idea. And this veils Lord's creation multiplicity. Jiva is not independent of Iswara nor ignorance of Maya. Only on making up from sleep the man perceives the body and the world, but not in sleep. On the strength of the present knowledge, he understands that he remained in deep sleep also. Therefore, in sleep, Jiva must be concluded to be in pure state in which the body and the world are not perceived. Devotee, is not Jiva the reflected light, the I thought? Mercy, he is also a Jiva. Before it also he is Jiva. The one of them is related to the other as cause and effect. The sleeper Jiva cannot be independent of Iswara. On waking, he says, I am the body. If all the worlds together form Virat, the body is a tiny dot in it. Thus, the body is in and of Virat. What belongs to the Jiva then? Only the conceit makes him claim the body as himself but not the others. He cannot be independent of Virat. Similarly, number one, Iswara, causal, cosmic being. Prajna, individual being in deep sleep. Second, Hiranyagarbha, causal subtle being. Tejasa, individual subtle being. 3. Virat, causal gross being. Viswa, individual gross being. Maya, causal ignorance adjunct to Iswara. Ignorance adjunct to Jiva. Fifth, Brahma, cause, leads to Jiva effect. They say that all these five groups should be unified. This they call the unity of the five. All these are only polemics. 17th November 1938, talk number 580. A party from Rajkot came in a bus. They consisted of four chiefs and four ladies with attendants and a bodyguard. They arrived at 11 a.m. After lunch in their room. They had a short conversation at 12:45 p.m. and left at 1:05 p.m. One of them said, Here is the mother of the Thakur Sahib. We have come a long distance for the darshan of Sri Maharshi. Will he kindly give us some instructions? Sri Bhagwan smiled and answered, Good. that they have come such a long distance for the sake of darshan. It is enough that they have said it. What is there for me to say? Lunch bell. At 12:45 p.m., devotee is a jnani different from a yogi? What is the difference? Maharshi Srimad Bhagavad Gita says that a jnani is the true yogi and also a true bhakta. Yoga is only a sadhana and jnana is the siddhi. Devotee, is yoga necessary? Maharshi, it is a sadhana. It will not be necessary after jnana is attained. All the sadhanas are called yogas. For example, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. What is yoga? Yoga means union. Yoga is possible only when there is viyoga, separation. The person is now under the delusion of viyoga. This delusion must be removed. The method of removing it is called yoga. Devotee, which method is the best? Maharshi, it depends upon the temperament of the individual. Every person is born with the sanskaras of past lives. One of the methods will be found easy for one person and another method for another. There is no definiteness about it. Devotee, how is one to meditate? Maharshi, what is meditation? It is commonly understood to be concentration on a single thought. Other thoughts are kept out at the time. The single thought also must vanish at the right time. Thought free consciousness is the goal. Devotee, how is the ego to be got rid of? Maharshi, the ego must be held in order to get rid of it. Hold it first and the rest will be easy. Devotee, how is that to be held? Maharshi, do you mean to say that there is one ego to hold another ego or to eliminate the other? Are there two egos? Devotee, how shall I pray to God? Mercy, there must be I who prays to God. I is certainly immediate and intimate, whereas God is not thought so. Find out that which is more intimate and then the other may be ascertained and prayed to if necessary. 19th November 1938, talk number 581. When a child had something to be offered to Sri Bhagwan by the parents, they cajoled the child to offer it to Sri Bhagwan. The child did so gladly. Sri Bhagwan remarked, look at this. When the child can give a thing away to Jeja, it is Tyaga. Jeja means God. See what influence Jeja has on children also. Every gift implies unselfishness. That is the whole content of Niskama Karma, unselfish action. It means a true renunciation. If the giving nature is developed, it becomes Tyaga. If anything is willingly given away, it is a delight to the giver and to the receiver. If the same is stolen, it is misery to both. Dana, dana, dharma, nishkama karma are all tyaga only. When mind is given up, it is chitta shuddhi, purified mind. When I is given up, it is jnana. When the nature to give away is developed, it results in jnana. Again, a little later, a young boy came all alone, unescorted by his parents. He had come from Chengam in a bus. Sri Bhagwan remarked, the boy has left his parents to come here. This is also an instance of Tyaga. 21st and 22nd November 1938. Token number 582. To an Andhra gentleman, Sri Bhagwan said, if one goes on wanting, one's wants cannot be fulfilled. Whereas if one remains desireless, anything will be forthcoming. We are not in the wife, children, profession, etc., but they are in us. They appear and disappear according to one's prarabdha. The mind remaining still is samadhi, no matter whether the world is perceived or not. Environment, time, and objects are all in me. How can they be independent of me? They may change, but I remain unchanging, always the same. The objects can be differentiated by means of their names and forms, whereas each one's name is only one, and that is I. Ask anyone, he says I and speaks of himself as I, even if he is Iswara. His name too is I only. So also of a locality, as long as I am identified with the body, so long a locality is distinguishable, otherwise not. Am I the body? Does the body announce itself as I? Clearly, all these are in me, all these wiped out entirely. The residual piece is I. This is Samadhi. This is I. Here I is Atma, the reality. So this video is completed. Next video number 45 will start with talk number 583. Thank you, my dear friends. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.